So moving on to the third claim here is that many of the New Testament books were not really written by the authors to whom they were ascribed, despite the internal claims of the books themselves. Instead, they were forged.
Right, so they weren't written by, so John wasn't written by John, Matthew wasn't written by Matthew, and so forth, right? Luke wasn't written by Luke, and so forth, right? These folks were just put their name on these things, right? So they were forgeries.
We need the most important people that lived with Jesus at the time, and so obviously, not Peter, not the Gospel of Peter. Well, how about who was that guy, the tax collector guy that?
The really Gospel of James,
well, John. We'll put John down. Yeah, John, we're good. And he's still alive. Maybe around this time. Okay, well, okay. Gotta wait later.
Yeah. So in his book Forged, Ehrman has cast aspirations on the traditional authorship of the biblical materials by presenting examples of how often forgery was committed in the 2nd and 3rd centuries, in books that were not the New Testament.
What centuries again?
Yeah, 2nd and 3rd, right?
Okay, 2nd and 3rd centuries.
Now, of course, these are looking at other books that are not, the New Testament canon, right? In order to put the New Testament books then in the same category as these later forgery, Ehrman dismisses external tradition, contradicts, our authors tell us, his own arguments, minimizes the influence of secretaries, and constructs a portrait of conflict and diversity in the early church that the early sources do not support.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's a lot of things to just kind of whitewash a little bit.
But hey, it's close enough, right?
And so our authors here look at kind of these 4 test cases of Ehrman's claims and response to them. So here's the first one. The first one is that 1 Peter was definitely forged because, one, it's an error concerning the author's claim that Peter witnessed Jesus suffering. He never witnessed Jesus suffering.
He wasn't at the cross.
So couldn't have been there. Didn't see anything. Definitely didn't see Jesus stumble, break his foot, anything like that.
Right. Slapped around by the religious leaders, spit on.
All right. I guess so. And 2, because of its use of Babylon as a code word for Rome, which reflects post AD 70 usage. Okay. So this seems like an anachronistic utilage of a code phrase, and so clearly. This First Peter is written way after when we know he was killed in Rome and hung upside down, although we kind of know that by church tradition as well. Okay.
So the first argument fails because it defines the suffering of Jesus as just the crucifixion, right? And
big suffering there, no doubt about it.
Yeah, right. But this is too narrow, our authors tell us. In fact, the available evidence doesn't make clear whether Peter watched the events of the crucifixion from afar. He could have been watching it from afar. He didn't necessarily have to be, right under the cross, right? Yeah. The Galatian women watched it from afar, right? So, it
was put in a centralized location at Crossroads for a reason. I wonder what those guys did. Oh, okay, yes.
And also, unlike others, Peter did not flee when Jesus was arrested, right? But saw the arrest and followed him to his Jewish examination to watch from a distance, right? So he watched, and there was suffering there, right?
Right, exactly. So the second argument, likewise, is not as persuasive as it might seem. There's ample biblical and extra-biblical ancient precedent for a world power being named by the use of code language. See, for instance, the book of Daniel and the way it pictures the world kingdoms and the end-time vision. And among other reasons, this was done for in-house purposes. If you're a persecuted minority group already, if you have the Jews breathing down your neck because you're slandering them with they killed our Messiah,
and you don't want the Romans to
and you definitely don't want the Romans to this fledgling church. I mean, hey, Babylon, not Rome, Babylon.
Babylon.
Yeah. So this in-house purpose to veil the identity of the opposing nation in order to minimize persecution.
Yeah.
And so there are times when they come out and say, "Oh, here's Pontius Pilate of Rome, and here's the thing that happened." But then other times it seems like there are code phrases.
And it was symbolic, right? Babylon was it was a symbol of a nation who had taken over and who was powerful and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And of course, that was that was the Roman Empire, right? Yeah.
It's the same thing that C.S. Lewis or I would probably besmirch the memory, but Tolkien kind of does that, although he probably said
those are fiction.
He would talk about myth in not a negative sense, but,
right.
We use that in current day language as well. We could also equally refer to the American government as a Romanesque type government. Oh, well, Rome fell in the same way that America will fall. So it's not like we have to be super secret, but it's easy to draw a parallel between one of the most well-known world powers, especially in Jewish history, aka Babylon, and compare it to Rome. Also, the Dead Sea community, which are writing Old Testament literature, for instance, which did not survive beyond the fall of Jerusalem and the destruction of the temple in AD 70, used similar terminology, calling the Romans Kittim. So also, again, using code word language within its own ranks. So kind of these two cases fail of looking at the suffering of Christ only at the cross, which Ehrman doesn't prove that there's no way for Peter to see the cross, and also there are other times when Jesus suffered that
it seems Peter was there.
Peter could allude to,
could see it from afar,
especially if he's going to be telling his story of how he denied Christ, then that lends to the argument for embarrassment, which people have issue with, but I still think it's a pretty positive one. And then we see other people use this code word language for Rome, and so it seems like this case is defeated. So far, 1 Peter is still in the running.